And now, a story from the Appleseed.
This is a story that's near and dear to my heart because it's about mentors, people that have mentored me. And mostly we think of elders, people, and they generally are the ones that mentor us. My uncles, I always used to say, a good uncle teaches you what not to do by doing it first. Like my Uncle Byron taught me, if you're a guy and you're over 50, don't get a perm. Just don't do that. My Uncle Bob used to always say, you know, in my day, you could go to the grocery store, come back with eggs, milk, bread, and a little something for yourself with $1. Can't do that anymore. Now they have surveillance cameras. That's the uncle they say I take after. So my uncles would always teach me these different things, and I thought, okay, it's the elders, it's the people that came before us. But you know what? I've learned more from kids, I think, as my, if you will, elders than I have from adults. And I have 3 examples that I'd like to share with you, 3 girls that taught me so much about life. All 3 of these girls were under 10 years old. The first was my niece, Michaela. And Michaela, we went to her concert. She was really little at the time. She was 4 years old. She was playing one of those little Suzuki violins, you know, those tiny violins. Have you ever heard of the little, they're about a quarter of the size. And so she was up there with 5 other girls, and they were playing their Suzuki violins. They were playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Well, they just started into it when the bow of Michaela's bow of her violin got caught in the girl's hair next to her. And so it was stuck in the girl's ponytail. But Michaela didn't stop playing. She muscled through the entire song, and the little girl's head was whipping back and forth. And afterwards, everyone said Michaela had what it took to be a professional musician. And that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 1, perseverance. Hang in there through tough times. And keep playing in hard times. That was Michaela's lesson to me. The second girl, remember, there's something that I tell kids when they come in. After a show, you can't high five, but we can high 4 all day, because my left arm, I have 4 fingers. So when I work with kids, a lot of times I'll say, what makes us different is what gives us power. What makes us the same keeps us safe and gives us resiliency when the world comes at us. But when you want to know your power, when you want to know what you're going to contribute to the world, it usually springs from what makes you different. That's where your power comes from. And to prove it, I'll sit with kids and I'll say, okay, make a superhero character out of what makes you different. And so we'll go around the room and we'll make a superhero character out of what makes us different. And we'll pick the villain. Who's on the other side of that? Because a hero is only as good as the villain they vanquish. So you got to make that villain really good, really hard to beat. So we go around the room, and I'm going around, and I get to this one girl, and I go, what's your superpower? And she goes, I'm really, really shy. And I said, I know you haven't said anything in 2 weeks, but why is that a superpower? And she said, because sometimes people forget I'm in the room, and I'm invisible. And I know everything. And she did. She knew everything about every kid in that class. I could ask her about anybody. She knew because she was quiet to invisibility. She even knew about all the teachers. She knew some things she really shouldn't have known. And sometimes I'd be talking to a teacher, and there she'd be. Where'd you come from? How'd you get there? So I thought, I want to learn. I want to listen to the point of invisibility. And I just started when I was already rewarded. Almost my first trip on a bus after that, I thought, okay, I'm going to listen to this bus to invisibility. And sure enough, the guys behind me start talking. And one says, guess how old I am? And the other guy goes, don't you know? And the first guy goes, yeah, I know. And the second guy goes, well, then go with that. So I was already rewarded. But listening to the point of invisibility, listening to that point of empathy is the second thing I've learned. Listening. And every good storyteller that you've ever heard is, I guarantee, a really good listener. So that's 2. But now we get to 3. And this is when I learned love, you never know when love is going to come from. You never know when it's going to appear. And I heard this story from a friend of mine from the South Sudan, over in Africa, and they were in a refugee camp, and things were really hard, and they were really short on money. And his wife and his young daughter went to the market, and they were shopping in the market, and the girl had been so good the last few weeks that his wife said, let's buy you an apple, which was a huge thing at this time. So they went to the apple stand, and she said, you can have any apple you want. And the little girl took an apple, and she took a bite out of it. And then she quickly grabbed another apple and took a bite out of that. And her mom went, oh, I thought we raised her better than that. And her heart was broken, and she saw her daughter, and all of a sudden her daughter reaches out her hand with one of the apples and says, here, Mommy, this one's the sweetest. So you never know where love's going to appear, and you never know how, and sometimes you have to wait for it, and it will be there. And so those were 3 of the things that I've learned from young girls. I want to throw in an extra credit one, though. And this is from a guy, and this is what knuckleheads we are. I'm in the elevator, and I'm in the elevator in the hospital because I've just, I've had this motorcycle accident. I try to go outside, and I try to walk a half block. That's all the further I could walk. And so I'm in the elevator, and this 8-year-old kid gets on, and he goes, I hit my head on a fence post. That's why I was in the hospital. He goes, I hit my head on a fence post, and I had to get 8 stitches here. He points to the back of his head. I go, oh yeah? I had to get stitches from here to here, ear to ear, down my arm, and down one leg to the floor. And the kid looks at me and says, yeah, but mine really hurt. So from that kid, I learned you can never judge another man's pain. So those are 4 quick lessons from kids this day and age. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for a story from the Appleseed.